Kirti Tennakon, a civil activist, a voice against corruption, the executive director of the Campaign for Free and Fair Elections and an expert on media and communications. Rusiripala Tennakon, former chairman of the Bank of Ceylon, an expert on banking and an anti-corruption activist. Lassel De Silva, a former senior administrative official in the legislature, former secretary of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into Serious Acts of Fraud and Corruption, and an anti-corruption activist. It has been said that the environment for the bond transaction was created through decisions that were made at a meeting together with Ministers Malik Samaravikrama and Kabir Hashim, Arjuna Mahendran from the Central Bank and Ravi Karunanayaka. The people of this country need to know why no effort is being made to investigate the veracity of this statement and make inquiries from Ministers Malik Samaravikrama and Kabir Hashim. On the evening of the 29th, once the bond auction was concluded, a deputy governor of the central bank, Samara City, whose name has been mentioned several times already, did something incredible. As soon as the bonds were issued, he said that there were plans to hold a foreign bond issuance of $3 billion. Information that should have been made available to the entire market in the morning was not given to them. Instead, perpetual treasuries was allowed to reap maximum benefit with the highest interest rates, and later that day, the deputy governor announced the information that was held by the tender committee. For whose benefit was this done? During the COP meetings, MP Ajit Pereira said clearly that the dissemination of this information was delayed, and reported in this resulted in maximum benefits in purchasing bonds for perpetual treasuries.
Perpetual treasuries සමාගමට
අඩලංශ ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න කියන මේ යෝජනාවත් එක්ක බැංකු පද්ධතියට මොන වගේ අලාභයක්ද මොන වගේ පාඩුවක්ද සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ?
It is difficult to make a definite estimate, but we can clearly comprehend that all three state banks were denied an opportunity to earn an income for their investors as a result of following the instructions of Minister Ravi Karunanayaka.
රාජ්‍ය බැංකු තුනටම අහිමි වුණා කියන එක. මේකට සම්බන්ධ
Kabir Hashim, Malik Samaravikrama and even the Prime Minister must be investigated in this matter. No matter what position they hold, if there is any involvement, it must be investigated. It is extremely disappointing that efforts are being made to make Deputy Governor Samara Siri, who served as the chairman of the tender committee during the scam, an advisor to the Prime Minister. It is shameless. We question whether they are gathering the thieves to carry out another theft, or if they only give jobs to thieves.
A very good evening. It's Sunday, the 8th of October 2017, and welcome to News First Weekend. I'm Arundhati Udannayaka. Let's start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
Suspect arrested over international money laundering scam. Attempts to transfer imprisoned Duminda Silva from prison hospital using fake documents. Life of revolutionary leader Che Guevara celebrated in Horana. Cabinet committee appointed to restructure Sri Lankan Airlines. 2018 appropriations bill to be tabled in Parliament tomorrow. Sri Lanka imposes sanctions on North Korea.
And now the stories in detail. The Criminal Investigations Department has arrested an individual over an incident of international money laundering. News First made inquiries.
The Far Eastern International Bank in Taiwan has revealed that it had been hacked earlier in the week. Through the malware, hackers conducted virtual transactions to move funds totaling nearly $60 million from Far Eastern clients' accounts to foreign destinations such as Sri Lanka, Cambodia and the US. On Friday, Far Eastern Bank said its computer system had been implanted with malware, which affected some of its PCs and servers, as well as the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications, or SWIFT network. The SWIFT is a member-only organization which provides safe and secure financial transactions for its members via a standardized proprietary communications platform that can facilitate the transmission of information about financial transactions. Meanwhile, the Criminal Investigations Department in Sri Lanka has launched an investigation into a sum of $1.1 million, which has allegedly been credited to a private account under the name of J.C. Namuni from Far Eastern International Bank. A senior official said the owner of the account had withdrawn a sum of 30 million rupees on the 4th of October. The individual, identified as J.C. Namuni, was arrested when a sum of 8 million rupees was to be withdrawn from the account at the Bank of Ceylon head office branch. The suspect was produced in court and was remanded until Wednesday. The CID made submissions to court in relation to a number of crimes including money laundering, cyber crimes, fraud and illegal hacking. A senior official at the CID said it is investigating CCTV footage of the bank to identify another individual who was accompanied by the suspect J.C. Namuni. A senior officer noted that the suspect, who heads a state-owned enterprise, is currently in hiding. Immigration authorities have been informed to prevent the suspect from leaving the country. Investigators also reported to courts that they had discovered a sum of 4 million rupees at the office of the suspect J.C. Namuni. His account has been frozen in line with the court order. A senior officer added that a team of investigators from Taiwan had made a request to travel to Sri Lanka in the coming days. A similar incident was reported in February 2016. An attempt was made to steal close to $1 billion from a Bangladeshi account at the New York Federal Reserve Bank. 20 million of this amount had been credited to the account of the Shalika Foundation in a Sri Lankan bank. Hackers infiltrate the SWIFT system in such cases in order to falsify bank-to-bank transactions by sending an email to a selected bank employee. When the employee opens the email, the malware encoded in it infiltrates the SWIFT system, allowing the hackers to enter the system and issue orders for bank-to-bank transactions. While some of the orders are rejected, many are approved, allowing the hackers to transfer funds into accounts of their choosing. The hackers are also able to swiftly erase messages that are issued through the system. However, when funds were transferred to the account of the Shalika Foundation during the Bangladesh Central Bank scam, Deutsche Bank officials flagged mistakes in the account name, unraveling the fraud.
Do you recall the details which came to light at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry on the issuance of bonds on the penthouse owned by former Minister Ravi Konanayake? It was revealed that a sum of 165 million rupees was transferred to the safe of a chairman of a certain company to purchase this penthouse. Views were expressed on the matter at last week's Face the Nation program on TV1.
There is law in this country.
Is there?
Yeah.
Is there?
Well, you
so
don't.
What's the bribery commission? What's the police? What's the CID doing about 165 million rupees in cash that was dumped in some chairman's safe, and that wasn't in part of any kind of accounting process? Answer that, Mr. Mustafa. You were in the same category.
I am a lawyer by profession.
Yeah.
Any legal mechanism, there is a mechanism which is in place, that there is an investigative process. It's easy for just to make a statement, but in any issue, the mechanism will take its place. There are courts, and then consequent to that, whoever is responsible will be found guilty. Mr. Hemantha Waragula, being a senior criminal lawyer, will agree with me that
I defer to.
No. With regard to this,
my position is where there is almost a confession by this minister, ex-minister, that he had so much of money. The Aegis Department.
How many police officers?
Aegis Department should have filed a B report.
How many police officers
got
are
him
going
to court
to go knocking
and got
at
a passport impounded and started investigation?
And how many police officers will go to Temple Trees and knock on the door?
How was 165 million rupees transferred to a company chairman's safe to purchase a house for a minister? The money stolen from a Taiwanese bank has been recovered. Did the company chairman in question receive funds in a similar manner? Is there a connection between the people involved in these incidents? For your attention.
MP Hirunika Premachandra alleges that attempts are being made to transfer death row inmate Duminda Silva from the prison hospital at the Valikada prison to another hospital.
The acting duty medical officer at the prison hospital, J.K. Malwattake, says that Duminda Silva is to be taken to a doctor at the eye hospital tomorrow for a clinical test. This step has been taken against a backdrop where the doctor in charge of the ward at the prison hospital where Duminda Silva is being treated has observed that he is not suffering from any ailment requiring such treatment. Media spokesperson for the prisons department, Tushara Upuldenia, says that Silva, who was brought to the Walikata prison on the 8th of September 2016 following his conviction, has been at the prison hospital since the 27th of September the same year, citing various reasons. He was transferred to his cell from the prison hospital on the 28th of September this year after doctors reported that he was in good health. However, on the same night, he was admitted to the prison hospital once again after complaining of a headache and difficulty in breathing. 3 days after he was readmitted, the doctor in charge of the ward had recommended that Silva be transferred to his cell once again. However, another female doctor had suddenly issued a separate recommendation claiming the inmate had difficulty seeing. Silva was examined by the specialist physician at the outpatients department of the National Hospital, who did not see fit to prescribe any special medication. Last morning, the doctor in charge of the ward once again recommended that the prisoner be transferred to his cell, as the only treatment he was receiving was in the form of painkillers. However, a female doctor who had come to the ward had recommended that he should be taken to the eye hospital tomorrow, as he had difficulty seeing.
While justice appears to have been served by the courts to date, they are living in luxury. I have been informed now that he is to be taken to the eye hospital tomorrow, and subsequently he is to be either transferred overseas or to a private hospital. If there is to be justice for the murderer of Bharata Lakshman, then this false hospitalization must be stopped. Throughout the week, the only medication that has been prescribed is a pill of Panadol. There is no ailment whatsoever. They are manufacturing illnesses and attempting to transfer him. I expect that the authorities will take some action on this.
Under the previous government, he was not sent to prison, and not under this government too. He is living as an ordinary person and not serving his sentence. The only difference is that he has been sentenced, but he is serving out the sentence in the hospital. This is a deception of the people of this country. We expect that they will not allow this to become black mark on Yahapalanaya, and that he and all the others with privilege and means who are in the prison hospital will be treated equally by the law. None of them are sick, and there are medical reports to prove it. It appears that it is not the President, Prime Minister or the ministers that have power. Power is still with the Mahinda loyalists who were put in these positions. They do what they want, and this is extremely disappointing.
Bharata Lakshman Premachandra was gunned down 6 years ago to the day while elections for local government authorities were underway. Duminda Silva, the chief accused, was sentenced to death by a 3-member bench following a trial at bar. While Silva has served most of his time in prison at the prison hospital, allegations also being levelled that he is being afforded special privileges. The acting chief medical officer at the prison hospital claims that instructions have been issued for medical equipment to be set up in the cell designated for Duminda Silva. A panel of doctors, including the chief medical officer of Colombo, had also submitted to court recently that Duminda Silva is in good health.
I was only allowed to go to the hospital a week before I was released. I had plenty of ailments. I had difficulty breathing. It is no secret that my lungs are only half functioning. There are plenty of medical reports with the army on my condition. However, the Rajapaksa regime was not interested in giving me any facilities. If Duminda Silva is truly sick, I am sure there are plenty of other inmates at the prison who have the same ailments. They have high blood pressure, they have heart problems, they have respiratory issues, and they are visually impaired. If this is the case, we will have to admit all of them to the prison hospital. Why is Duminda Silva being given these privileges? If such privileges are being given to him, this government cannot remain asleep.
The 2018 Appropriations Bill, carrying an estimate of the state's expenditure and revenue for the coming year, will be tabled in Parliament tomorrow by State Minister of Finance, Iran Wickramaratne. Meanwhile, a special sitting of Parliament is to be held tomorrow with intention of adopting amendments to the local government ordinance.
According to the draft of the 2018 Appropriations Bill presented to Cabinet recently by Finance and Mass Media Minister Mangala Samaravira, the state's estimated expenditure for 2018 will be 3,982 billion rupees. A statement issued by the Finance Ministry says that estimated state revenue for the year has been calculated at 2,175 billion rupees. According to reports from the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, total debt repayments to be made amounted to 9,702 100.8 billion rupees as at the end of the first quarter of 2017. A total interest to be paid amounted to 680,087 million rupees or just over 680 billion rupees. The total interest payable on external debt amounted to 123 billion rupees, while the interest on domestic debt totaled more than 556 billion rupees. The second reading of the Appropriations Bill, also known as the Budget Speech, will take place in Parliament on the 9th of November. The Finance Ministry noted that public views and proposals on the 2018 budget will be considered until the 18th of October.
A new cabinet subcommittee and a committee of state officials have been tasked with restructuring the country's loss-making national carrier, Sri Lankan Airlines.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe will head the Cabinet Committee, while Ministers Kabir Hashim, Mangala Samaravira, Dr. Sarath Amunugama, Nimal Siripala de Silva and Malik Samaravikrama are its members. The Committee of State Officials will be headed by Secretary to the Ministry of Finance and Mass Media, H.S. Samaratunga, while its members consist of the Secretary to the Ministry of Public Enterprise Development, Ravindra Heva Vitarana, Chairman of the National Agency for Public-Private Partnership, Thilan Vijayasinghe, Chairman of Sri Lankan Airlines, Ajit Dayas, Senior Advisor to the Ministry of Finance and Mass Media, Mano Tittavalla, and Director of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka and the Ministry of Public Enterprise Development, Dr. Roshan Pereira. Meanwhile, reports have emerged that an agreement between Sri Lankan Airlines and France-based Airbus to purchase 4 A350-900 aircraft is yet to be terminated. Responding to inquiries from Newsfirst, a senior government official said it is expecting representatives of Airbus to visit the country to negotiate the termination of the contract. Sri Lankan Airlines made a loss of 14.1 billion rupees in 2016 and has incurred a total loss of 169 billion rupees over the past 9 years. Citing that there was a massive debt burden, priority was given to privatize Sri Lankan Airlines. Now they're trying to sell this off by pumping funds through state banks to artificially sort out the balance sheet. While these businessmen are doing this, the management of this institution are proceeding ahead to increase their massive bonuses. Usually, bonuses are paid at companies when they perform well and are profitable. In this case, bonuses of over 10 million rupees have been proposed and bonuses of over 1 million rupees have been proposed for another 31 people.
A
memorial was held in Horona today to celebrate the memory of Ernesto Che Guevara, who in his short 39 years of life made an indelible mark on world history and became an icon of revolutionary culture.
Born into a large middle-class family in Argentina, Che Guevara studied medicine before traveling around South America, observing conditions that spurred his Marxist beliefs. The poor living conditions he witnessed on his 9-month journey had a profound effect on Guevara, and he returned intent on providing care for the needy. As his interest in Marxism grew, he decided to abandon medicine, believing that only revolution could bring justice to the people of South America. By 1955, he met Cuban revolutionary Fidel Castro and his brother Raul, who were planning the overthrow of Fulgencio Batista's dictatorial government. When their small armed force landed in Cuba on the 2nd of December 1956, Guevara was with them and among the few that survived the initial assault. In January 1959, Fidel Castro took control of Cuba and placed Guevara in charge of La Habana prison, and he was later appointed president of the National Bank and Minister of Industry, and did much to assist in the country's transformation into a communist state. Che Guevara also maintained a special relationship with Sri Lanka, and remnants of his visit to Sri Lanka 8 years before his death can still be seen, including a mighty mahogany tree which he planted as a sapling in Yahalakale, Horona. Che was assassinated in 1967, 50 years ago. Sri Lankan leftist parties celebrate October the 8th as Che Day. The memorial event was held in the vicinity of the mahogany tree planted by Che Guevara under the auspices of the Cuban ambassador to Sri Lanka. Dingiri Mahathir, who assisted Che to plant this sapling 58 years ago, was also present at the occasion. Leaders must set an example if a country is to be corrected. What happens when the leaders are greedy for positions, when they become thieves who rob public money? Sri Lanka is a fine example of all these bad leaders. The examples set by Comrade Che give us, living in small countries, a lot of strength to battle imperialism. When will the world be fortunate enough to witness other leaders who would risk their own lives for the empowerment of the poor and oppressed in society and fight against corrupt politics?
Aid was distributed among low-income families in the Veeravela area today under the auspices of Minister of Housing and Construction Sajith Premdasa.
This program was organized to distribute roofing sheets to families living in homes with thatched roofs in the Ambalantota and Suriwava areas in Hambantota. Minister Sajith Premdasa gave away roofing sheets worth 44,000 rupees to 45 families in the area. A total cost of 1,980,000 rupees was incurred for the aid program. They could have carried out a peaceful protest by sitting on the side of the road. Instead, they decided to protest on the roads disregarding the court order. They have hurled stones at the police and damaged public property. But now they bring in various henchmen to justify what they did. What a joke! Wasn't it MP Namal who was behind this violent force? One thing is clear, he did not have a backbone to come to the front and lead the people. They had no regard for the law of the country. During his father's time, they decided they will not heed court orders. My dear friends, who are the people engaged in violence? They are the captains of violence. They are people who have set world records in violence.
A special meeting was held between the Speaker of India, Sumitra Mahajan, and Chairman of the Sri Lanka Mahabodhi Society, Venerable Banagala Upatesatera.
The meeting took place yesterday at the Bandaranaike International Airport. Sumitra Mahajan is visiting Sri Lanka to attend the conference of parliamentarians at the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, or SAARC. India's second woman speaker, Sumitra Mahajan, was elected to the Lok Sabha representing India's ruling party, Bharatiya Janata Party.
And in sports news, in spite of a disciplined performance from Sri Lanka in the field, Pakistan's Haris Sohail and Azhar Ali were making slow progress on day 2 of the second test in Dubai. Batting in their first innings in this day and night test match, Pakistan were on 243 for the loss of 8 wickets a short while ago. Also in sports news, Kenya's James Tallam and Mercy Too won the men's and women's marathon events at the 17th Colombo Marathon held this morning. More than 8,500 runners took part in the events at the Colombo Marathon this year, including the 5-kilometer fun run, the 10-kilometer run, the half marathon and the full marathon. James Tallam, who was placed first in the men's full marathon, recorded a time of 2 hours, 23 minutes and 27 seconds. Kenyan athletes also won second and third places, while Sri Lanka's Suranga Gunasekara came in fourth. Mercy too won the women's full marathon, while Sri Lanka's Hiruni Vijayaratne was placed first in the women's half marathon. With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Weekend Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great week ahead of you. Good night.